My name is Maria Zollo and I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Australasian Research Management Society. This is Dana Watts, who's the Accreditation Program Administrator. And today we're both going to attempt, as best as we can, to answer some of your questions in relation to the newly established accreditation program that we're running for the first time in its new format this year. I'll start by just acknowledging the Indigenous custodians of the lands that we're on, and especially those people who are also battling with a range of other catastrophes in their lives, particularly those people in the Ukraine. So I'd like to make a special welcome to them as well, or special acknowledgement rather to them as well. I also like to just point out that this is, and welcome to those people that are just joining at the moment, that this is a new program. Many of you would be aware that for some time now, we've run a foundation accreditation program for our members. And that's been quite successful and has given individuals the opportunity to pick up some additional learning and some additional skills, and hopefully being able to network with other members across the sector in ways that we had envisaged. And that program's been very successful. Today I'm going to be talking, Dana and I were going to be talking about the established level accreditation program, which replaces what was previously the advanced level accreditation program. And that program itself commenced about 4 or 5 years ago. We've had a number of people go through that program, albeit smaller numbers, because it was very much cohort orientated. Hi, Nicole. I just wanted to make the point that this is actually quite different to that program in many ways, for those of you that may be familiar with that previous program. The established level accreditation program is really designed for mid to senior level research managers who've worked in the sector for at least 5 years or more, and or senior academics and professional staff who perhaps are transitioning into a senior research management role. Research management is so broad, as we can all appreciate. I'm sure many of you work in various different elements of research management. The way that the program is designed is to enable you to create your own pathway, your own journey. So you can choose from a range of products, and we'll talk about those in a moment. But in particular, we will talk about the compulsory elements of the program, of which there are 3, and we would expect those transitioning or going through this program would need to undertake those. And then where it becomes non-compulsory, or therefore more enabling you to just make the selection of programs that are perhaps a bit more akin to your particular area of research management, are in this latter form around other programs and which are assessed and non-assessed. And we'll talk through the mechanics of that as we go through our presentation. At any point, if people have a particular question they wish to raise, you can either pop that into the chat, or by all means, just sing out and raise the question as we go along. We're happy to take questions. It's a two-way street. We're incredibly happy to be here today, and I'm glad to see we've got good numbers of people attending and good interest. This is, as I said, I'll keep saying this again, it's a new program. It is very different to how we've run it in the past. And there may be some questions that you may have during the course of today's session that we may not necessarily be able to answer straight away, but we will certainly take it on notice and come back to you and the entire group with a formal response. Okay, so I'll pass it on to Dana, who will talk very briefly about the eligibility of the program.
Thank you. So many of you have already been aware that we have this program. There's a lot of information on our ARMS website. So at any given time, I'll refer you back to the website for a lot of that information. So this program consists of 100 points, and those points will be a mixture of, as Maria mentioned, compulsory and non-compulsory elements. Maria, can I just get you to go back one slide, please?
Oops, yep, I was just about to do that.
Thank you. So what I'll try and do is step you through this diagram. It's actually quite informative. So we have to the left compulsory elements and to the right non-compulsory elements. Of your compulsory elements, those are in orange, and you will have the leadership program as well as 3 winter or spring school electives. Those can be done over 3 years. The only thing that we request is that with the leadership program that you do all 8 sessions of that leadership program in one go. So this year we're offering it in October, but we expect to be offering it again next year. Now, might I also say, and I apologize for not mentioning this earlier, this session is being recorded, and the reason why is we would like to put it on our website for anyone that misses the session. So if you have any objections, can you please let us know? Please add it to the chat. Now, going back to the compulsory elements, there are 9 points being provided for a non-assessed component, and that is what we call group learning exercises. These have not been scheduled yet. We don't know what the topics will be, and it'll be very much driven by the participants that enter this session. Everyone must do a minimum of 9, and we will be looking for leaders to actually drive those sessions. There'll also be extra points allocated if you are a convener for one of those sessions. So reviewing again, you'll get 30 points from the leadership program, and there is an assessment with that. You will get 30 points or 10 points each from each of the electives, whether they be spring or winter school, and those are assessed. The last part of the compulsory program is the non-assessed group sessions. To the right, you have other stuff that's non-assessed. Now, number 4 says other ARMS programs. So you can choose to supplement your assessed component with ARMS programs such as a module, which you'll get 4 points from. If you've done a master class or will be doing a master class, currently we have 2 on offer. They're 5 and 7 points respectively, and they are assessed. So there's opportunities there to get points. A lot of people entering this program may already have done the foundation level program. That will give you 25 points. So you're already on the assessed points, you've got 25 there. And if you, well, I shouldn't say if, when you do 1 and 2, you're already up to 85 points. So there's no requirement there for you to do any other assessed programs. The last part is number 5, other programs. And this is really where you start to see the flexibility and recognition of prior learning. So you need up to 16 points, or sorry, a minimum of 16 points here. And they can constitute ARMS programs or non-ARMS programs. On the website, there's a wonderful page, and it'll give you examples of other programs outside ARMS, but it'll also give you some opportunities to look at things within ARMS that we're saying people can apply to get points for. So there's lots of different situations. As Maria mentioned, everyone's pathway is different, but if you have direct questions and you want to know your pathway, feel free to email me. And I'm happy to go through exactly what your scenario is and what you'd be looking at. Okay. Now, I think I'm on eligibility. No,
Yep.
Maria.
Yep, we talked about eligibility. Yeah, just
Okay.
very briefly. So for the ELAP candidates, they must have either previously completed the foundation level accreditation or alternatively have been assessed as eligible based on previous experience. We'll talk about the application process because that's kind of where a lot of that information will be supplied by you and will be assessed by a working group prior to you commencing the program.
Great.
Over to you,
Thank
Dana.
you. And I'll just notify you that just because you've completed the FLAP program does not mean you can automatically jump into this program. Applications are still based on assessment, but the one thing is that anyone that's new to this research management field may be going through the foundation level program, so they might not be there quite yet in terms of jumping into this program. So right here, we have a lovely little diagram of Josie. Now, she's already done her ARMF, so she's already got assessed points there. She's also done one additional module, so she have done 6 modules in total. She's going to get a total of 60 points from the leadership program and 3 winter electives, so you can see that she's got a lot of points there. She must do the 9 points from the group learning activities, as well as she's got some extra points there for non-assessed components. So she's going to go through this path to get her 100 points. Again, I'll drive you back to the website where possible, because we've got, I think, about 7 different scenarios in there as examples for people to follow. So you can take a look and see if you fit any of those examples, any of those avatars. And if you don't, again, just contact us directly and we can go through that with you. Thank you, Maria.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, so we talked very briefly about the compulsory elements. I showed you that in the earlier slide. So the leadership, management and strategic thinking, which will attract the 30 points. So that will comprise of a comprehensive group of learning equivalent to 8 2-hour sessions. Those sessions have already been scheduled for later in the year. And they are workshops which will focus on leadership, management, strategic thinking. And as I already mentioned and as demonstrated in that diagram, that will attract 30 points. Then you'll be required to complete 3 electives, and that's equivalent to a 1-day sort of contact hour. So we're talking roughly around sort of 6 to 7 hours in contact, from a selection of specialist areas, providing a much deeper knowledge of the topic chosen. Each of the electives, once you select your 3 electives or go through the pathway of completing the 3 electives, will have an assessment component at the end of that assessment, attending that workshop. Once you've completed that and you've successfully completed that, you will attract those 10 points for those individuals, those 3 individuals. So 3 in total, 30 points. And then finally, as Dana had previously mentioned, attendance and participation in a minimum of 9 1-hour regularly scheduled group learning discussions. And this is, again, a compulsory, but it's a non-assessed element of the program. We would expect you to attend those sessions. And as Dana mentioned, this is something that's going to be driven by the group itself. And we would anticipate that individuals will step up and would like to lead the discussion on various topics of your choosing, of the group's choosing. Additional points will be attracted to those people that take on that leadership role. I'll pause at this point. Do people have any particular questions around any of those sort of 3 compulsory elements that they wish to raise? Details, I should say that details about the leadership program, again, will drive you back to the website, will provide you what each of those components will cover. It's quite diverse. So have a good read through that. And once you've had a read through, please contact our office if you've got any further questions. Assuming there's no questions at this point, I'll pass that on to you, Dana.
Thank you, Maria. So now we get to the assessment and compulsory requirements. Now, as Maria has alluded to, and we've spoken about this, there are 75 points that must be assessed. Assessments can be via an online quiz. Assessments can also be based upon, say, a 2 to 3 page submission for the winter school electives and the spring school electives. Those usually are required about 3 weeks after the winter or spring school electives are delivered. So you have your master classes. Currently, right now, we have fundamentals of project management, as well as costing and pricing of research. Both of those are being offered 2 to 3 times minimum this year, and we may add more offerings as time goes by. If you've previously done an elective, we will accept points for electives going back to 2020 and 2021 if anyone registers this year for the ELAP. There's 2 offerings this year. On 1st of June, we are closing our registrations for the initial round. Second, the 1st of October would be the second time we are closing our registrations. Although we have registrations twice a year, we're not saying you're going to necessarily go through as a cohort. You may go through the leadership program as a group, but then from there, everyone will go on their own journey because they'll be taking different electives, but they also may be getting credit for electives that we're taking in 2020 or 2021. Moving forward to 2023, we will only be giving credit for electives taken in 2022. So we're then moving to the previous 12 months. So if you've done electives in 2020 or 2021, you really need to consider jumping on this year and starting your journey. It's a 3-year journey. Many people may only take 2 years to do it. Some people more ambitious might take 1 year to do it. So please consider that for this year. Now, I think that's pretty well it for this part. Maria, happy for you to go? Okay. Yep. Thank you. I believe this is back to me again. The number one question I get, can you please give me costings? We don't have a set cost for the entire program because it will be dependent on your journey. I'm just going to get my slide a bit bigger so I can see that. So what this does is, as a guideline, and there will be conditions upon this, you have your compulsory elements in the top table, your non-compulsory in the bottom. So looking, and I've broken this into both member prices and non-member prices, Australian dollars, GST inclusive. So you should be able to readily see on that what the leadership program will cost. It'll cost $2,150 for an ARMS member. That is being delivered over 8 sessions in October. Winter school and spring school electives are currently at $550 per elective, and that is this year's rates. The group learning opportunities, which are also compulsory, don't have any cost associated with them. So it's a little bit of a savings there. To the right-hand side, you'll see if you're a non-member, what the costs are going to be. But if you're familiar with ARMS, you're probably aware that if you join ARMS, you'll probably save in the long run. So we would encourage you to do that. Now, in terms of non-compulsory points, they vary. So you've got master classes, $440 per masterclass for ARMS member, $540 if you're not a member. You can also use a FLAP course, $380 per module. Or sorry, I shouldn't say a FLAP course, a FLAP module. $380 for members, $480 for non-members. Now, where you might have substantial savings here is if you're seeking recognition of prior learning for a program you've done, say a company director's course. That will be non-compulsory. We consider it non-compulsory. You may have had a compulsory component, but we as an organization put it in the non-compulsory because we're not going to make a judgment on how many points that should be as assessed. So we're creating it and saying it's non-assessed. But if you've already paid for it in the last year, there's going to be no extra cost. That's your recognition of prior learning from outside of ARMS. So you'll start to save money there. The other thing is because the program's over 3 years, you can spread the costs over 3 years. If you've already done your FLAP, that cost is already paid for. ARMS is also advertising and offering this year, and a substantial savings of 15% for anyone that wishes to prepay for the Leadership Management and Strategic Thinking program, as well as their 3 winter or spring electives. You'll be saving $1,500. So that's a great savings as well. If you prepay now, it doesn't mean that you need to take the electives immediately. You might defer your electives to next year. That's fine. As long as they're paid for with the leadership program, you're fine. Now, I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any on costing, or you're welcome to just contact ARMS to get a bit more information.
Pause for a minute if anyone's got any questions.
Yeah. Or you can bring them up at the end if you wish to as well.
Okay. I'll take you through to the enrolment process. As we mentioned earlier, there are 2 opportunities for you to apply. This is by application, and it's important that you do apply in order to ensure that we do a formal assessment of your relative skills and experience to make sure that you're actually doing the right program for your particular needs and your particular experiences. Please ensure that when you do complete the application form, which is currently on our website, that you do receive the endorsement by your direct line manager. That's a requirement. And that you provide additional documentation, particularly for the documentation needing to support any approvals of prior learning. That's really essential for us for our assessment. All expressions of interest are reviewed by a subcommittee of the ARMS Accreditation Council, and final recommendations will be communicated to you through our office. There's the link there. With these slides will be available after this session. But again, I direct you to our website. The website's pretty detailed and quite extensive, and will provide a direct link to the application process. Does anyone have any questions in relation to the application process? I guess a lot of this will become more apparent to you once you start completing the form. If there are any specific questions, please let us know, because we can then circulate it to this group or to our membership more broadly if there's some particular information that you think would help others to complete that application successfully.
It's also important to note that if you're seeking recognition of prior learning for programs outside ARMS, we rely on you to provide us with enough information to assess that application. So if you just tell us the name of the program you were enrolled in, that really won't give us any guideline. We need, a prospectus, something more to the program, and we need to see that you completed the program, maybe a copy of a certificate. So the onus will come on you as participants to give us enough information for us to assess that application.
Indeed. I think this kind of concludes our presentation.
We do have a few questions. I'll just go back to them. So
awesome.
Karen, thanks for your question. So you're looking at an application for the ELAP later in the year. And you're talking about maybe having a winter school elective from 2022. Absolutely, yes, you can carry that forward into the program if you apply in October. That's not a problem. And now we have Sandrine. Where can you check when you have completed some of the modules of the FLAP? If you go on to your ARMS member portal, your certificates are actually in there. So you'll go in there and you'll see that you've completed that and when you've completed it. If you're having any issues, please contact us. We can direct you straight into that area. Now, I'm happy to take any questions. If anyone would like to actually show themselves on camera and speak up, please unmute yourself.
It'd be good to get a sense for how many applications we're likely to get in this current round. If people are comfortable sharing that information, whether they're considering putting in an application this round, it'll be great, because then we work with you to support you to fill in that application process successfully.
Maybe a hands up on your screen for those that know how to do their hands up.
They've got their mic switched off.
I think they do. Let me see. Or a thumbs up. There you go. I'm involved in the ELAP, so I'm putting my hand up. Early inquiries.
Okay. If there aren't any other questions, I think we could probably wrap today's session up. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time. Again, I direct you to the website. There's a lot of information on the website. Once you've had an opportunity to look through some of that information, by all means, by all means, please contact us to answer any of your questions that you may have, whatever they may be, big or small. Yeah, but thank you very much for your time this morning, everyone. And yeah, reach out to us.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your week.